You're listening to another Geek Pride podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Geek Pride podcast. I'm your host, Bevan Clatworthy, and with me today is our leader, Matt Geary. Say hi, Matt.
Sup?
And
Sup?
resident Mad Beard, Mike Orvis.
Hang on. Am I like the Rasputin of this podcast?
Oh,
Yes.
that would be so cool. Be like
Sweet.
invincible.
Yeah, and I have a big schlong. He apparently, Rasputin, right, I was reading about Rasputin the other day because one of my favourite films is the Hammer horror Rasputin the Mad Monk, because Christopher Lee is Rasputin, and there's absolutely no regard for women. It's like fucking hilarious. Not that he has... It's just because of it's a little like time capsule of the time, not because
Because you enjoy sexism.
don't have it. Do you really want to get on this train, Matt? Do you really want to get on this train?
Because you were saying, you were throwing those spurious allegations in my direction.
Well,
for the last, like every podcast.
I'm not the one that's going to go away from this podcast having the guilt complex about it because I know I'm not sexist. So anyway,
Mad Monk.
I was reading about Rasputin after the first time I saw it, and apparently we're gonna earn the explicit tag less than 2 minutes in. He fucked so well, women would pass out. True story.
Whoa.
According to legend. Yeah.
Okay.
It was like an epidemic. Like women were scared of him.
That's some weird superpower. It's like, I'm going to knock you out, but not the way you think.
With my dick.
Yeah, it's good.
Wow.
It's good. I mean, like, not to get too graphic, but I can relate. That's happened a couple of times.
You've often been knocked out.
In my mind.
Okay.
No, not so much in my mind. Just IRL. But yeah. Anyway, sorry, Bev.
Anyway.
I'm tell you what, mate. I'm gonna go and grab my 3-litre bottle of Coke and give you an opportunity to speak and allow me to not derail the podcast anymore. Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Orvis.
Okay, cool. So now we've got the introduction out of the way. How seriously, guys? That was within 2 minutes. Derailed and explicit rating. That's
It's Mike Orvis. I told
It's
you.
gotta be a record, right?
They were moaning about me last week. My shit intro and stuff. And then it's just like, well, one's Sean who always disconnects, who isn't online
Hiss,
today.
general disapproval.
And then the other one's Mike Orvis. So that's just
What have
the way
I done?
it is.
Who? That fucking guy. Fuck that guy.
we're talking about you,
guy.
not 2 years. Okay, right.
Guys,
Yeah.
I was driving home earlier today, and I had a really weird thought that made me chuckle about Geek Pride. Do you all remember when we totally called the end of Star Wars Episode 7, and then the entire comments thread exploded with, "You're not even real Star Wars fans. You're all fake Star Wars fans. You don't fucking know what's going on. You don't understand Star Wars like we do. You don't know what's going on. You're fucking stupid. This is bollocks." And then,
That's just internet for you, man. Especially Reddit. The Reddit was just like, "You're fucking idiots. That's not
Really?
going to happen. There's no way." And there was just like this thread of abuse. And then and then when suddenly it all happened, it got locked down. No further comments allowed.
Really?
It disappeared.
Wow.
I was just like, you fucking dick.
Fuck you, House of Mouse. Fuck you. Sorry. No more. Right. I'm going to stay on target. I'm not going to turn off my targeting computer.
Hello?
We are. I'm good. I'm just going to do whatever I'm told, Bevan. I'm sorry.
Hello?
I'll shut up.
Hello, Bevan. Oh no, have we lost a Bevan? I think we've lost a Bevan. What is it?
What is going on? What is wrong with 7:30 on a Sunday?
Yeah.
That
What
seems
is
to
wrong
kill
with
people.
7:30 on
Fine.
Sunday?
We'll
Bevan,
do the podcast, our own podcast with Blackjack and hookers.
Bevan.
Hello.
Bevan.
Hello. Sorry.
You there?
Yeah, sorry. My Zoom just for fuck's sake. Zoom just died. Fuck you, Zoom.
Oh,
Have you got
no.
Have you still got your Audacity?
Yeah, Audacity's still running.
Cool. I want to keep this because that's the first time I've ever heard Bevan swear.
That's going to be at the start of the podcast. I think.
Excellent.
My innocent man. just
Just a
Don't
clip of Bevan going fuck.
Go on, just drop the C-bomb, Bev.
Oh
Do it.
my god, no. You have to push it, don't you? I don't
That's
think
like-
I've ever dropped the C-bomb in the Geek Pride podcast.
It's funny. You see, my mum, right? My mum's from Oxford, and she's she's very English and quite posh, and she didn't generally swear until more recently, because my sister and my brother have made it their sort of like mission in life to try and get her to swear more often, generally at Christmas. So she'll go home and they'll go, "Mum, say fuck," and she's like, "No, I don't want to." Say fucking, say fucking cunt, and she's like, "No, I don't want to say it." She's like, say cunting Christmas." She's like, "No, I can't say it." So they get her liquored up, and then she's feeling a bit mischievous, you see. So we'll all be sitting there at the dinner table or something with friends, like loads of people around, and then she'll just sort of be sitting there, and you can see she's got the look in her eye, and she starts sort of kind of laughing to herself, and then she just goes, "Oh, fucking cunting Christmas," and then starts laughing her head off.
It's kind of
And we're
say something like poppycock.
yeah,
Ball bags.
yeah, ball back. But yeah, that's nice, mother, ladies and gentlemen.
That's
very
amazing, because
yeah.
where I'm from, Christmas wasn't Christmas until my mum said "Happy fucking Christmas" and slammed the door like that's that's Christmas.
Merry Christmas to our listeners out there, by the way. This will be coming in before December. So
This is going to be like, this is like next week. It'll be the 25th of. You're literally a month early.
yeah, we were at Longleat yesterday, the sort of animal park safari thing. I'm trying my best not to get too Christmassy, because, peak too soon, you sort of have that run down into Christmas, then Christmas Day comes and you think, oh, well, that's a bit boring. But no, I couldn't help myself. They had a giant tree, they had elves, they had all sorts of stuff going on, all the Christmas songs, Happy to Christmas,
I just think,
all that.
if I'm honest, I just think that conservation efforts aside, I don't think they should have wild elves. I think that they should be left to kind of roam free, and I don't think it's right that they're peddled out every Christmas.
Do you know, like, an elf, from what I understand of Saxon sort of folklore, elves were bad things that used to sort of, like, come out of forests and kill people and take them away and such?
It entirely depends on what mythology, because as you will know, Mr. Geary, in Ireland, everything's a fucking fairy. Everything's a fairy or a fae, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so a fairy could be a kobold, who's like a little goblin motherfucker, is going to bite your ankles and ruin your day with little poison teeth, or it could be a gnome, and gnomes they're mischievous, but they typically want to help you out. If I'm correct, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong.
I don't know a lot, to be honest. I don't know a lot about sort of fairies and gnomes and stuff. Even leprechauns being Irish. What's good?
I had a book when I was like really small, because we went to Ireland when I was about 5, and we had this like myths and legends of Ireland stuff. So I had like a book with little illustrations and stuff, and then I had the original book of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them when it was a Red Nose Day £1 affair. And it had some Irish monsters in there as well.
Oh, cool!
Right. The only sort of mythology I know relating to Northern Ireland is Finn McCool, the giant that
sounds like the Poochie of Ireland.
Yeah, I'm Finn and I'm fucking cool. But yeah, Finn McCool. Basically, Loch Ness. Loch Ness was created because he was having a fight with a Scottish giant. Which I can't remember the name of the Scottish giant. Not important because he's not from Northern Ireland. So he's having a fight with the Scottish giant, and he basically gets this big spade and he takes a big chunk of Northern Ireland and he fires it at the Scottish giant, and it lands in the middle of the Irish Sea, which turns into the Isle of Man.
Right.
Amazing.
And then basically the whole is Loch Ness. So basically Loch Ness is where it came from. The Isle of Man is where it landed. And then because he obviously didn't hit him with the land that he was trying to fire at him, he started to build a giant's causeway. He went, right, I'm going to build some land, and I'm going to get to you. He obviously got bored within like 5 seconds because the giant's causeway's tiny. You look at these things, right? Everybody's like, "Oh, Giant's Causeway." You see it in the pictures and stuff. You get there and you go, "Is this it? Is this it? Really?" It's kind of tall. It's kind of small.
It's weird shape, though, isn't it?
yeah.
It's like all hexagon pillars, isn't it? It's
yeah,
really
it's
odd.
all hexagonal and stuff. Yeah,
really strange.
Yeah.
So what is the scientific reason for the Giant's Causeway?
It's all to do with, I think, sort of kind of volcanic tectonic plates and things, and then when they've pushed together, it's all sort of pushed them up in this hexagonal shape. Unless you're a member of, this is going to get slightly political, the the Democratic Unionist Party, then God made it that way.
I mean, obviously.
Yeah, he totally made that shit. And to the point where, because they're all fucking creationists, the idiots, they...
Whoa.
I'm sorry, man. I knew we had this, but I have no time for creationism.
We're talking about fantastical theories and myths and legends, so creationism
well,
is one of those.
This is it. I'm now Mr. Foy will be able to tell you more about this because he told me about it. But he was saying that they've put up a museum in Northern Ireland near the Giant's Causeway to obviously explain how scientifically, the formations. I don't know exactly what they call the formations, but the stones, how they became that shape and how many millions of years ago it happened. And then the ruling sort of kind of political party, they're all as bad as each other, by the way. I'm not being biased for any sort of political Northern Irish people. I've lived it, I left it, can't be fucked with it anymore. But they have decided, because they're all religious nutbags, that they needed something in that museum to say that God created it.
But also God might have done it.
Yeah, so basically, this wasn't anything to do with, tectonic plates and stuff. God made it that way, and that's another theory. And it was just like, oh my God, that's insane. But that's it. That's it.
Gosh, so that's a little plaque down by the coats. Just saying
that. I don't know. We're gonna have to talk to Dave Foy about it next week when he comes on. But he told me about it, and I was like, "Are you serious, man?" And he's like, "Yeah, because he's a civil servant, and he has to work with them in Stormont and stuff."
I really don't understand fundamentalist Christians.
Yeah,
because I grew up Christian. I went to an evangelical church. Like, I was baptized when I was 14. But even
is that one of those ones where they sing a lot?
Yeah, bro. That's how I became like a musician. That's how I started. I
actually kind of like those sort of church. If I'd been to a church like that, because I had to go to sort of like boring Catholic church and boring Protestant church because I was in a mixed family. I did both, and they were both really boring. And that really sort of kind of turned me off slightly.
Yeah, man. Whereas, like, we legitimately played like Creed songs.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah. And Scott Stapp's like. Scott Stapp's solo career, like
with
The Great Divide.
Open.
Fucking
amazing.
Yeah. And a band called what the fucking band called? They ended up on BBC for a while. Bollocks, I've forgotten. I know the song.
Not
On
POD,
Christ Solid
is it?
Rock We Will Stand.
Oh no.
Who?
POD?
No, not POD.
They were all about the God.
They were all about the Jesus. I remember a punk band called Titan. Who were quite good. No, was it Titan or Titan? Anyway, that's fucking beside the point. But yeah, like, it was all kind of happy. We call them like the happy clappy Christians, because it's all about, grassroots. We're gonna like follow the Bible. But even when they taught God created the world in 7 days, and but you must remember, God exists in and outside of time. So 7 days are representative of the billions and billions of years it took. And then you get a bit of a divide when you ask the elders of the church. You go, so what's all this evolution about? Like, well, some of us think it's real, but some of us we don't know.
Like, that's the middle ground, isn't it? They talk about these how it's God's plan, but he didn't get it right the first time, so he has to tinker with it as he's going along.
creative design,
like patch notes.
Yeah, version 2.0.
Well, I mean, I gave the fish legs, but it wasn't really helping them out. So I gave them the ability to breathe in the air, and just sorted itself out, really.
Yeah. Just obviously a caveat to anybody who's listening to this. We have no problem with anybody of any religious faith whatsoever, unless you're a fundamentalist Christian. Unfortunately, they are outside of the box, and I have no time for them.
Do you know what? Whatsoever. As far as I'm concerned, I'm rebelling from the Geek Pride official stance. As long as you're not hurting anyone or trying to convert anyone, you fucking crack on. You believe a giant dog did it. You can believe that the entire world is the shit ending of any Silent Hill game. It's a dog and aliens.
No, I think you're right.
Silent Hill totally games, cool. They're awesome.
No, I know, but the shit ending of Silent Hill games,
right?
When you do badly, the shit ending is a dog appears or aliens. Yeah, I think it's the end of Silent Hill 2, isn't it? Where you get abducted by an alien, you find out it's a dog the whole time, and you're just like, no.
You do get a cool ray gun.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you can believe what the fuck you want to believe, Flying Spaghetti Monster, you could be part of the Elon Musk crew of this is all fucking hologram. whatever. As long as you're not hurting anyone, it's the same as kinky sex. As long as you're not hurting anyone, unless they consent for it, and as long as you're not hurting anyone, then fucking you crack on, and you do whatever lets you sleep at night, feeling that the world is a safer place.
Do you reckon there should be a religious safe word then? Banana, Oklahoma. I've had enough. I can't take it anymore.
I think the religious safe word is probably sovereignty or worshipfulness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I think you're right. I think in the case of, I think if you're not hurting anybody, like I know a lot of sort of kind of religious people from back home, from over here and stuff like that, and they're lovely people because they don't preach. To be honest, I probably preach atheism more than they do about their religion, so I'm being slightly hypocritical because I'm sort of foisting my views on others.
You are one fedora hat and a flaming flannel shirt away from being a living, breathing meme. You know that.
Yeah, but my major issue is when politics comes into it and they're basically imposing these things onto people. That just annoys me because it's just like it ceases to be sort of harmless then because it imposes. It sort of what's the word? Because people don't know, so will not know any better. So people will a kid will turn up and go, "Oh my God, wow, that's just the way it is. Wow, so God created this," and won't think about maybe the science side of it and stuff. And I just don't buy into that. I think that frustrates me. Just as much as I've got a love-hate thing with my homeland. It's one of these things, anybody who's from Northern Ireland will understand it perfectly well, I'm sure. It's a beautiful place with a lot of really cool people, but it's full of dickheads as well, and they all have an opinion on things, and like me.
Who told dickheads they could have opinions? I mean, that's the first problem.
Yeah. No, that's just. Anyway, we're getting well off the point. Bevan,
yeah.
we've completely taken over your first stewardship of this podcast.
That is absolutely fine.
What we're saying is it's your fault.
Oh, sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
Anyway, to lighten the mood and talking about homelands, I did read a book about Cornish legends that was quite interesting. I don't know how anybody in Cornwall got any work done. I swear to God, it was bizarre. I mean, have you heard of the knockers? They were like a spirit that lived down in the mines. And they used to
I've seen a lovely pair of knockers before.
Oh dear. Yes. I don't know where to go with that because boobs.
Boobs are great, aren't they?
They're pretty cool.
They are fantastic,
but
they gave us life and sustained us.
But mines in Cornwall.
Mines in Cornwall are also good.
They're pretty
because they produced coal.
Bevan, you're not sort of reining us in. We're going wild. We're like these wild beasts, and you're meant to be kind of taming us. And
I've had a nap, and now I'm drinking Coca-Cola. So, I'm subdued, but my mind is travelling at 7,000 miles an hour.
It's two beards against zero as well. I don't feel I've got much of a chance.
Don't say that Geary's a beard. He's like a fucking honorary half beard.
Half beard.
I was at a baby shower yesterday, and one of the lasses who I used to hang around with.
Such a horrible term, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. But anyway, I was there, and I was talking to this girl I know, and her boyfriend, a long-term boyfriend, has always wanted a beard, but he's always had this sort of like problem that I've had of like, oh, it's a bit patchy, I don't know what I'll do. But he went fuck it one day, and he's just grown it, and she's really annoyed because he's got himself a big-ass pirate beard now, and I was like, yes, wow, holy shit. And I haven't seen it yet, because I was like, oh, he's an awesome guy, and it's like, really want to see his beard, and she's like, oh, I just want him to shave it off, and I was just like, oh no, you gotta let him have it. I bet he loves it, and she's like, he does, he well loves it, and I was like, I get so much beard envy. I just don't have what it takes to grow it.
You literally do.
I don't know.
Don't
no.
shave.
But this is it, because if I don't get it and I just get this patchy mess, I'll feel so disheartened.
You know when you started growing your hair out when you were cool?
Yeah.
Before you started taking gym selfies. Remember those days? Well, there was a stage when you were growing your hair out where it was a bit in your face and you looked like one of the Beatles. That's just the stage you have to put up with. Yes, it will be patchy, Yes, it will get annoying, but you just have to put up with it.
Grow on
and I'll tell you
through.
what a long beard says to a woman or a potential mate of any sex, gender, or species. I'm sure.
I'm sure there's going to be
That
some
you-
twiglets in there.
No, it says that you have the patience and determination to put up with hardship.
Or that it's itchy. That's how I can't grow a beard. I've been told, if you grow
Yeah,
a beard,
but
no kisses. I was like, fair dues then.
I think you should respond with the simple phrase: hairy lips, happy nips.
Maybe not. I like sleeping in my bed. The sofa's not comfortable. Anyway, reining us back, Cornish legends. Right. So, I was trying to tell you about the knockers. They're these little pisky demons that live in the mines, right? And they knock on the walls and they scare the Cornish miners. And seriously, this whole book went through like all the different things that scare Cornish people. Spiders, horses stood in fields, the knockers.
Horses stood
Seriously,
in fields?
there was a superstition that meant that they couldn't go past. If you saw a horse on your way to work, you had to turn around and go home. I don't know why.
That's
They
an
were just-
amazing.
They were just terrified of everything. Getting on boats, getting on the boat was scary as well. It was almost like the Cornishmen they developed a form of like OCD. You know, I have to get on the boat. I have to get on the boat in a certain way. A certain way it has to be high tide like that. And you just think, no, just get on the fucking boat, get out in the ocean, get some fish, bring them back. Don't piss about. Just get it done.
What if you see a horse in the middle of the ocean? What do you do?
Oh my
then?
God.
Lay off the scrumpy.
I really wish I kind of lived back in the day when all that shit was like real. Like it was just like, holy shit, this was like for sure. Like the end times was like tomorrow, and all that crap existed.
Here be
It would
dragons on the map.
Yeah,
and stuff.
like literally, like holy shit. If I go too far that way, I'm gonna fall off the edge of the fucking world.
Did you know that scrumpy is the reason for the phrase blind drunk? Did you know this?
I did not.
Could it actually make people blind?
Yes, because when they used to make scrumpy, sort of for those of you who don't know what scrumpy is, it's cider, but like OG big boy cider. They would crush the apples completely, like they wouldn't core the apples. Now apple seeds have a very tiny amount of cyanide in them. So if you were like fucking the town drunk, you could drink so much tiny bits of cyanide. One of the first things that happens with cyanide, if it doesn't kill you instantly, is it makes you go blind and then it shuts down the rest of you. But yeah, so literally you would drink yourself until you went blind.
Gee, Josephat.
And it took them ages to understand. It's like, all right, if we take the pips out, everyone stops getting fucking blind.
Here,
so,
Denzel, have a
yeah.
sup on that. Can you see what I'm holding up to you? Stop swearing at me, Dan.
We took half of them out because we thought we'd look good with eye patches. Turns out they created a whole subgenre about us.
Awesome.
That comes into things. So where sayings come from? Do you know where the saying "use your loaf" comes from?
No, I don't.
Battle bread?
Right. Yeah. Well, basically, back in day, in the sort of 19th century, during when Sharp was around, 95th Rifles, shooting the French and such. What they would do is the skirmishers in the British Army, the British Army in general, they'd obviously have rations, and they'd have like a small loaf of bread, sort of like hard bread, which they'd carry with them for their rations. And snipers used to go around in twos, and the whole theory was...
You got the spotter and the sniper, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Spotter and sniper. And what would happen is, the spotter, what he would do is, he would stick the loaf of bread on his bayonet, and he'd put his shako, which is the hat, on top of it, and he'd poke it out from cover. And then when the enemy sniper or the enemy voitigueur, I think they call the French voitigueurs, would shoot at him, he would shoot at the bread, and then the smoke would give his position away, and then the second guy could shoot at him.
Nice.
And therefore, use your loaf. I've got another history-based one. 4 square meals, or sorry, 3. Is it 3 square meals? 4 square meals
3
a day?
square meals.
3 square meals a day.
Yeah, 3 square meals a day. Where do you think that comes from?
I do know
I'm
this
going
one,
to
but I'm
assume
not gonna...
military.
Say it
I'm
again?
not going to go into
I'm
this
going to
one.
assume. Sorry,
You go.
we did that at the same time. If only we'd have said the same thing at the same time, then be like, "Stop copying me." No, you stop copying me. We'll have to do it as a bit at some point. We'll have to write a little script and just lay it out on everyone secretly in the Geek Pride podcast. Sorry, shut up, Mike. Go on, Matt.
Yeah, it is military. It's basically in the Navy, because they had a specific. It's to do with rations again, which it ties into another saying as well. Obviously, things were square instead of circular plates, so the plates were square. Therefore, they could fit them on the tables, and they knew which bits were which, and they could ration them. But the plates, and this was the other saying comes into it. The plates, the edge of the plate was called the fiddle. So basically, if you had too much rations or you put too many rations on your plate, it would hit the edge and you would be on the fiddle.
Oh, right.
So you're on the fiddle and therefore you were stealing. Hence where on the fiddle comes from.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. And the word thugs, do you know where the word thugs come from?
No.
The word thug is the English version of the word Tuggy, which was an Indian cult who used to basically strangle and kill travellers on the road in certain areas in India. And that's where that comes from. The thugs are basically tuggies.
I feel like we're sat round a fire at the moment. You're sat in your big, wingback chair with your smoking jacket on and brandy in one hand. And you're telling us a little tale, and we're just sort of sat on the fireplace, the little hearth going, "What's going on now, Matt Grary Grandpa?"
Well, the tuggies are in, Temple of Doom?
There I was,
Yeah.
me on my own, bayonet fixed, 10 tuggies
Yeah, 10 tuggies.
following my trail.
They were the ones who go Om Nom Shiva, Om Nom Shiva.
Kalima.
Shot day. Yeah. Monkey brain surprise.
No time for love, Dr. John.
But yeah. Okay, so there you go.
Well,
Bit of history for you.
Okay. Should we move into some news then?
Yeah.
Okay, so, Matt, what news have you brought for us today?
I have brought the news.
I bring news from the north.
Matt doesn't have any news.
Oh, don't. Because,
All
right, okay.
That makes me
I didn't do my homework. No. Okay, it's gonna be sort of Warhammer Games Workshop news because there's a lot of shit happening at the minute and stuff. They're releasing Magus, who's one of the Primarchs for the Thousand Suns chapter in Warhammer 40k, which is a big thing
Magus
because
the Red.
he's Magus the Red. Yes, he's a demon Primarch, demon prince of Tench. And they've also released. They're releasing a new codex, which will have all the Chaos chapters in it. Because they never used. It used to be a Chaos codex, and you just had specific things. But they now got a supplement now with specific chapters in it, with chapter tactics.
Cool.
So because there's always this thing that the loyalist factions get a lot of love, whereas the Chaos ones don't. So they're sort of pushing this in now. They're also there's talk that the 8th edition is going to come in very soon, and the 8th edition, for all of you who don't know anything about Warhammer 40k, we're on 7th at the minute, and it usually goes in cycles of every sort of kind of 2 or 3 years they'll have a new edition, and it's been about that, and they're thinking that they're going to do it along the lines of the Age of Sigmar, which is basically the reboot of Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Which they simplified everything. They basically killed the world. I think we talked about this before, Bevan, where they killed the world and they sort of changed everything. And I think they're doing that with this one. And it's going to be like a middle ground thing. And I'm really, really looking forward to this. The other big thing is the whole story. They're actually moving the story forward, which they haven't done for like 20 years.
Jesus.
They haven't, they've basically had this story. This has happened. Each chapter has done certain things. Each race has done certain things. The story as it is has been pretty stagnant. Every now and again they had campaigns where things happened, but they've got this new one now called Warzone Fenris, which is basically Fenris is the planet where the Space Wolves, my chapter, come from, and they are under attack by Chaos. And what has happened is the 13th Company, which is Lehman Russ's bodyguards. Now, for all of you who don't understand about the lore behind Lehman Russ, after the Horus Heresy, which was like a big war in the 31st millennium, he follows all the Thousand Suns chapter and the Chaos into what they call the Eye of Terror, which is basically where all the bad guys go. and he's basically said, "I will be back in time of need." So he's fucked off. 10,000 years later, all his bodyguard have come back, and they are basically space marine werewolves. So they come back and they're in power armor, but they're called wolfen. They look like wolves, and because obviously the warp has tainted them, and they've got this, and they basically come back because this shit's happening. And because of the Wolfen and the 40k universe is a bit sort of kind of suspicious of mutants and things like this, there's a lot of, oh, wait a minute, what the fuck, this is tainted, this is chaos. So all the other Space Marine chapters are a bit sort of kind of like, oh, wait a minute, have they fallen to chaos? So all the shit's happening, it's all happening around the Space Wolves planet. And then the big reveal is that Magus and all the his 1,000 sons are basically going to get revenge on the Space Wolves for the burning of Prospero, which is basically back in the Horus Heresy in the 31st millennium. Space Wolves went to Prospero, which was the 1,000 Suns chapter's planet, and destroyed it on the orders of the War Master Horus, who tricked them. The Emperor said, "I want you to bring Magus back to me alive to stand trial for all of his using of special psychic powers. I want you to bring him back," and he's on his way, and Horus has basically manipulated Lehman Russ and said, well, you might as well just kill them all, because, he's not going to go back, and he's fallen to chaos. So Lehman Russ has gone, right, you're right. So he basically bombards the planet, breaks Magnus's back. Magnus finally gives in to the powers of chaos, takes himself and his chapter off into the warp, and now they're back for revenge, and I have a feeling they might actually destroy the planet, and they may actually start fucking around with some of the chapters and things and make the story move forward a bit. And as much as I love the Space Wolves, and I hope they don't get completely wiped out and stuff, well, they won't wipe them out, but I kind of want them to do something with the story that will sort of change it slightly and add a bit more narrative, because there's loads of books, loads of things going on, but as the core rule books go, as the core sort of kind of mechanics go, it's been the same for years. And so that's my big news piece.
Cool.
What I would like is that when this podcast goes out live, I would like, if you could possibly, to download the song The Gonk, which is in the soundtrack of Dawn of the Dead, and just play that in the background while you described what was going on.
The Gonk?
Hang on, I've got it on YouTube, give me a second. So if you could just be like, right then, and then you've got the Space Wolves, and they're doing their stuff, and that's really great, and then there's the Eye of Horus, and he's doing a thing, and then they killed their planet, but then Shanice was like, no way, and I was like, yeah, no, totally way, and then we all had it. If you could just do that for me, that would really make my day.
I hate you, Michael.
Why do you hate me? I'm just trying to make the podcast better.
All right, okay, I'm not the best storyteller in the world.
No, it's just because I have literally no fucking idea what you were talking about. I'm just like, I'm going to try and follow this, and you're like, and then Vermintide happened, and then fucking this going on, and then this. I'm like, it's sort of like Star Wars, and then you're like, it's not like Star Wars. I'm like, all right, never mind.
So do you think they'll bring any more of the Primarchs back, or is it just going to be Magnus?
Don't encourage him.
Oh, yes, Bevan, yes, I think they're going to... Well, basically, they just released Lehman Russ for the 30k. Forge World have released 30k Lehman Russ. But I think for the moving forward of the storyline, they've got all these like hugely overpowered units within the game already. And the whole thing about Primarchs were they were basically overpowered, therefore they wouldn't have them in the game. Well, you've got Titans now. You've got basically... You can get resin models which take up 3/4 of the gaming board.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, what's like the biggest?
They've got Warlord Titans, which is basically if you want to buy it without buying a rip-off version from China, it'll cost you $1,500.
Fuck me.
And it's literally, I would say 2 or 3 foot tall.
Jesus.
Right.
It's
the
massive.
size of a toddler, basically.
Yeah, basically the size of a toddler, and it's literally they're massive. And I've got Reaver Titan, which is basically about 1.5 feet.
Yeah,
it's a big sort of, and it fell off my.
Oh my god!
And it shattered slightly, and I was like, no, getting the glue and stuff, fucking trying to get it. It's all right now, but yeah. There's loads of these models, and therefore there's no reason why they wouldn't. The only issue is what they call fluff, which is the storyline. And obviously, as it goes, there aren't a lot of loyal Primarchs who survive the Horus Heresy or straight afterwards. The only people who I think may come back are Reboot Guilliman, who was the Ultramarines, because he's in stasis or stasis in Ultramar. He had his neck cut, so he's still kind of technically alive. They could bring him back. What's his name from Salam? The Lion L. Johnson, yeah. He basically had a fight with begins with an L. Can't remember his name. Luther. This is the whole thing between the Dark Angels. Are they traitors? Are they not traitors? So L. Johnson may come back as well because they don't know where he went to. Rogel Dorn. Rogel Dorn. Michael, stop it! God damn you!
Just carry on. It's fine.
No, I can't think now. You're putting me off my thoughts.
But sorry.
Bevan asked me a legitimate question.
Yeah, but I think this is funnier.
Help! I'm being oppressed.
All right, what about Sanguinius? He's definitely not coming back, is he?
Why do you keep doing this, Bevan?
Because this is also funny. It's like
No. Look, we're called the Geek Pride Podcast, and just because there's something I don't understand doesn't mean that I should mock it or take the piss. But I'm going to because I'm a facetious little fuck. But please carry on because people are probably listening to this being like, "Sharp, mate, you beardy twat." I want to hear about. Hang on, I can do this. Vermintide.
No,
fuck.
No, that's a Warhammer fantasy battle game
Bollocks.
that's been brought out. Sanguinius is dead. He got destroyed. He had his soul. No, actually, no. He was killed by Horus. He was killed by Horus during the assault.
We should put the Clueless soundtrack to this.
He was killed by Horus, so he's not coming back. Dorn might come back because there's a whole thing about him being sort of. They only found his hand, the severed hand, and they didn't find any part of his body. And the whole theory is that he was captured by the Harlequins and taken into a webway portal, and he was stretching his hand out to sort of, stop himself from getting sort of sucked in, and it's cut his hand off. That's why it was sort of like just a severed hand on its own. So he might come back, and that is it. I think most of the other ones got killed. There may be ones I've missed, but the rest of them are dead. But a lot of them, the traitor Primarchs are still alive, so they might come back in demon form. So obviously, if you're going to bring Magnus back, then there's Angron as well. You bring Angron back.
Angron would be cool. The thing I'd love to see is what they try and do with the 2 missing chapters. I think that's the thing that really intrigues me.
Oh yes, see that's something they have not. Michael. God damn it! I'm gonna get you back, you beardy bastard.
Beautiful. Okay, I think that might be the cue there to sort of move on a little bit.
I just like the idea of a song from the Barbie movie. You're just talking about all this war, and then everyone's really kawaii.
It's okay.
Too.
Bevan, we'll talk about this some other time when such immature people are not a part of it.
Right?
Yeah.
Why don't you do you guys seem to know enough about it. Why don't you do a Geek Pride podcast as head of Geek Pride Podcasting?
I don't play.
I'm going to allow this to happen.
That was the only thing.
You should we could have a chat about it, just talk about it, because there's loads to it. That's the one thing Games Workshop are good at. They're good at the storyline. They've really put a lot of depth into it. There's loads of depth into it. It could be a good HBO series if they put enough money into it. It'd be fucking amazing.
Yeah, but HBO haven't got any money. Wait, no, shit, that's a good segue. I'm stealing this for a good segue. Speaking of HBO, I've watched 20 minutes of Westworld, and I think it's really good.
Westworld Sky One.
It's a HBO show, mate.
Is it?
Yes.
Why is it not on Sky Atlantic? Usually
I don't know. It's just I know that it's HBO.
So, do you want to describe a bit of Westworld for us, for the listeners?
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, because there was a lot of social media hype about it, and whenever I see a lot of social media hype about anything, I kind of go, oh, I'm not sure, which is just like the recalcitrant kind of counterculture in me, just going like, oh, lots of people like it, that probably means I don't like it, because most of the time I've been proved right, X Factor. But I gave it kind of 20 minutes before I was going out somewhere and was utterly intrigued. So for those of you who don't know, Westworld is, from what I know, a world full of robots, and it's set in kind of the Old West where rich people pay a lot of money to go and obviously not be a robot, but they can go and do anything they want, because at the end of the day, all the robots get reset. And you can shoot the robots and kill and harm them, but they can't shoot you. Like, the technology is so that when they shoot at you, they're firing blanks, but when you shoot them, you shoot them and they die. So this is kind of a world where, like, you could spend the day being the sheriff. You could be like rootin' tootin' Cowboy Jones and like trying to save the damsel or dude, depending on your sexual preference, and you just go and be the good guy, or you could like rape and murder everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you can do whatever you want, however you want, and we've kind of seen both sides of that in the first 20 minutes. It's visually fucking stunning. Some of the set pieces and the shot compositions are delicious. And again, I've only watched 20 minutes of the show. There was already a bait and switch in the first 20 minutes where you're like, you think a guy is a certain thing and then the guy isn't a certain thing. You're like, oh shit, this is crazy, because you think the premise is already being fucked with and then you realise it's not, and you're like, oh, that's amazing. But yeah, Anthony Hopkins is in it. And yeah, it's just really, really good world building. And I hate saying the word really to describe something, but it's incredible. It's incredible world building. I'm gonna. In fact, after this podcast, I'm either gonna watch that or continue watching Game Grumps because I'm on a bit of a binge. But I highly recommend it, unless it goes horribly shit in episode 2. After which I'll come back in a couple of weeks' time and go, forget about Westworld, never mind. My question for you, gentlemen, is if you. Well, I've got 2 questions, so we'll start with stick with the original premise. If you could go to Westworld, what would you do? What would be your thing? Would you play the good guy? Would you play the bad guy? Because remember, these are just robots. You're essentially in a real world video game. These synth, they're called synths, and they are as human as you can get.
Well, we've talked about this before, haven't we? In that Massive Guild Complex always have to be the good guy.
Yeah.
I would definitely be like the sheriff or something like that. I couldn't be the rootin' tootin' badass who killed random people and stuff or raped robots and shit. I'd have to be the straight down the line guy that I am.
Okay, so the setting for this thing, is it malleable? I mean, can you make it like a high fantasy setting or a futuristic setting, or?
Well, see, this is the thing I was going to talk to you about. That's my follow-up question. So this world that we're in at the moment, it's like the far future, and if you're super rich, you can take a trip to Westworld, where all the synths are. The setting is Westworld, so it's the Wild West.
Okay, right.
So that's the only setting. Essentially, you're in Red Dead Redemption, but like everything's real and you can touch and do other things with it.
Ah, see, the problem is I think I'd go down the same route as Matt, because the whole moral dilemma of, if you had all the restrictions removed and you could do whatever you wanted, what you would learn about yourself and how dark a person you could potentially become. The whole, as your character would start to develop, you'd start to go, well, I've already shot this one. Why don't I shoot this one and it's a child? Or why don't I, I've shot a child now, why don't I just bomb a whole thing,
See, now...
Yeah. I always think that if, there's people I know who they will play a bad person in games, but they'll play it really bad and, they enjoy that. And part of me thinks that deep down, there's some sort of instability.
Well, have any of you guys read Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas?
No.
Okay, it's an incredible book. Really, really kind of informative. Totally mental. Like it destroys the format of what a book's supposed to be. But Hunter S. Thompson was that kind of guy. He invented the concept of gonzo journalism, the kind of journalism.
I saw a documentary on him.
Yeah. The guy's mental, but incredible. There's a quote at the start of that book. Which is something that's always sort of resonated with me, and that's kind of, I don't want to go too much into it because it gets kind of personal, but he who makes a beast out of himself gets rid of the pain of being a man. And I like that quote because my answer to the question of what would I do in Westworld is it would entirely depend on my mood. It would entirely depend on what had happened to me, what kind of... Because I'd love to be the rootin' tootin' fucking, sheriff. I love to kick back in a saloon and just like in a salon. Get my hair did, talk about boys I like, get a mani-pedi, and just live the day away. No, like sit in the saloon, listening to the piano and kind of just chilling. Maybe take a lady of the night, or something like that. But then I could also be in a horrendous mood, and I've done this in video games. I've got two. I used to have. I don't have an Xbox anymore, but I used to have 2 save files on Fable where I kind of can drop the part. I used to do it on Skyrim as well, because when you're end game level in Skyrim, you can summon a dragon, a load of dead Vikings, and set someone on fire by whispering into their ear, "You're fucking nonsense strong." And if I was having a really shit day, Whiterun would fucking feel it, because I'd rock up to Whiterun and all these people who have loved me and like, "Oh, you saved our town," I'd just be like, "Yeah, not today." And then I just go fucking mental, summon a storm, all the guards would be at me, and I'm just like, "Motherfucker, I am the Archmage of Winterhold. I will destroy everything you stand for." And then reset my game and go, "Right, cool, glad I got that off my system."
Just bleed out the venom.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I used to kill Faith from Mirror's Edge. For a while,
the running game,
because there was something.
Game, isn't it?
Yeah, there was something quite cathartic. If this is darker than you want it to be, cut it out. But there was something quite cathartic about making a jump off of a building in first person. You're just like, okay, cool. Just kind of scratches a weird, like, dark little itch. But yeah, so anyway, cutting point if you want to. Westworld, it would depend entirely on what mood I'm in, because of the quote I said, "He who makes a beast out of himself gets rid of the pain of being a man." And, I think we all, in our own way, embody that at some point in our lives. Some guys sleep around a lot, some guys drink, some guys buy a lot of Warhammer 40k figures and then talk about it for half an hour on a podcast.
You have no idea.
I do. I've been to your house. It's crazy. I'm the same with that. But anyway, second question. Westworld is actually based on a book and a film, and it's in the book. Westworld is part of a series of worlds. It's kind of like a part of it's like Disney World essentially. So you've got different worlds that you can go in. So there is a sci-fi world, there is a fantasy world, there is that kind of thing. So my next question for you would be, what setting would you like to go in, and what would be your role in that society? You have 3 days on whatever Earth you want. What kind of setting would you go for, historical or otherwise, and what would be your role in it?
Ooh, interesting. Does it have to be Earth? Does it have to be Earth then? So it's an Earth.
I will allow like kind of sci-fi, fantasy-ish kind of stuff. As the park owner of World.
Again, that would really depend on my mood, because it would depend on what sort of kind of, because I like my high fantasy.
Yeah.
But I also like my sci-fi. I love my history, so it really would depend. If I'm feeling sort of like I want to learn something, I want to sort of kind of be, then maybe I'd go to a history world of some sort, and I'd like to go back to, depending on what time of period I'm sort of investigating, maybe ancient Rome, or the Greco-Persian Wars, or maybe see what World War II would have been like, or something like that.
Oof,
but then,
heavy.
You can't. It's one of these things. It's like, in general, I think you watch these documentaries and you watch these old timers talking about these things, and you read it and you think, wow, that's amazing, but you don't understand it properly. You don't understand how horrific these things could have been, and as much as it would probably be very painful, and sort of, obviously in this world you're not going to get hurt, no, but at least you'd understand the noise and the smells, and the sort of just the thing, and that to me, it would be, it might be slightly traumatic, but you'd at least understand fully what people went through for, you as a person, Was it
you that was telling me about the parapet thing, or if I did? No, it wasn't you. It was a colleague at work. He was telling me that the last man who was kind of alive for World War I was interviewed, and
Is what his name was Frank Patches?
Maybe. I mean, I could be getting this wrong, but it was someone from World War One that was interviewed, and they didn't want to talk about it, and then they only agreed to talk about it if they were left alone in a room with a tape recorder.
All right, okay.
So whoever that is, maybe it wasn't the last guy. Maybe I've retroactively, maybe I've retconned that. But yeah, so he was left alone, and then they listened to the tapes, and it was like really harrowing because it's this World War One, which was like the worst one. And he said that the biggest thing when you were in the trenches, the biggest hardship wasn't the cold, it wasn't trench foot, it wasn't the disease, it wasn't the death. It was resisting the urge to put your head above the parapet. Like that was, and it was literally, you'd feel your body like rise up, and you'd have to fight your own will, your own human, like it became like a madness where people were like, I'm gonna go up top, and they're like, no, because you'll die, and people were like, don't care, beats the boredom of doing this.
Yeah. World War One, it was nothing. It was, I did a lot of history, but I focused a lot on sort of Napoleonic era, World War Two, sort of Vietnam and things like. I didn't really do much World War One when I was younger. It's only more recently. I did a bit, obviously, because you have to in school. But when I had the choice to pick things, I picked other things. Yeah. But World War One is actually a really, really interesting period of history. Just sort of as a war, there was a lot more going on than just sort of kind of static sort of lines and people sort of going over the top. But there's so many stories and so many sort of things that happened and what they were doing, the ingenuity, what they came up with, things they invented to sort of kind of get past these things, and just the way people, everybody went into that war naive, completely oblivious to the fact that these weapons would obliterate sort of, thousands of people. Yeah. Like Battle of the Somme, 60,000 casualties in the first day.
Well, there's that line about the Germans had developed machine guns, and the English just told the men to walk in a straight line towards the machine gun. Well, yeah,
because they didn't know any better. They basically had this sort of... No, it's not. I'm not justifying it. There was wars beforehand. The Russo-Japanese War, the American Civil War to a big extent as well, because they had trench warfare and they had Maxim guns and Gatling guns, and things. They had weapons that could do a lot of damage. Obviously, the Boer War as well, sort of, which is things that they should have learnt from. But in their mind, it was just like, we've got these huge, massive artillery pieces. They will blow the fuck out of their lines. There's no need for us to sort of kind of panic the men and stuff and get them running and stuff, because we can just do what we've always done, is walk in straight lines. And they quickly realised that shit didn't work. And, that unfortunately, that meant like thousands of men losing their lives just because they hadn't learnt some valuable lessons from previous wars. But that's just generals in general. So generals in general, you get a lot of them throughout history, and nobody learns. It's madness. And that's why I love history. I love it because history does repeat itself. Like, there's so many times you can see throughout sort of different epochs and different sort of periods where things have happened, and you can sort of tie them in what's happening now, or even in sort of recent the recent past, and you're going, shit, why didn't they see that coming? That's happened before, and why didn't they learn? But people, they don't learn from their history. They just sort of they live in the now, and they go, right, wow, I've got a bit of power now, this is what I want to do, and fucking people die.
That's a bit grim.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. But it's right. Those who do not study history are doomed to repeat it, right?
That's it. And that, for me, like as a history student or somebody who loves my history, the world would be a better place, and the people, especially in in Northern Ireland, countries where there's a lot of strife, civil strife, that would be they would be better served if history was a big part of their sort of how they were brought up, and not one-sided history. Now, the issue is, you've got a lot, especially, go back to the Northern Ireland thing. Everybody knows their history in Northern Ireland, but they know it from their side of the fence. They know it from their side of the coin. They don't sort of know, it's like, this is what happened, we won, we beat you, or this is that you've done this to us. But they don't look at the other side of the coin, and that's what history's all about. History's about sort of weighing up sources and sort of kind of going, well, this is what they thought, this is what they thought, this is what happened. this is the middle ground, and that if people did that, the world would be a more understanding, rounded, and happier place, in my opinion, because you could kind of go, all right, okay, that's how you thought, I didn't know that, this is how we feel, I can understand why you're doing that, I don't agree with you, but, you know, I understand, and things would be so much better.
Yeah.
So much better. But unfortunately, history isn't for everybody, and people don't, they would prefer to just be fed something from Facebook or fed something from a movie. One of my massive pet peeves is people who take historical films like as gospel, as in that shit happened. Unfortunately, our American cousins are very fond of rewriting history in the form of movies and just putting in stuff that just didn't happen, and that annoys me, because the thing is, people will just watch that shit and go, holy shit, that happened, William Wallace really did that. No, he didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching The Watchmen, and I've only just found out that they didn't win the Vietnam War, and there wasn't even a big blue guy. It's fucking bullshit.
You know, a big wobbly cock everywhere. What the fuck?
I know. And honestly, my world's a little bit darker without the big blue wobbly cock.
I kind of like it, you know, was it Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards, where he literally just doesn't care. He rewrites it, but he rewrites it in a sort of like, you know, they kill Hitler at the end. You know, it's just like, but that's amazing, because, you know, it's so ridiculous and people know that's not right. But, you know, it's the small things where they're like, yeah, this has happened and this has happened. It's just like, and because people don't want, you know, they don't want to learn history. They just want to get told what happened. And so they'll just believe it, and therefore that's what you get. You know, well, this happened. No, it didn't happen. Well, I saw it in the Mel Gibson film. It definitely happened. True. Yeah.
So, Bevan, what world would you go to, and what would be kind of your role?
Well, I'm afraid my answer just won't. It'll lack depth compared to Matt's wonderful diatribe that went on for 16 minutes. I'm a massive fan of like giant mecha and that kind of thing. You know, Appleseed, that's my jam. Gundam, nice. That kind of thing. I would go to a world where I would be a pilot in one of these giant mechas, and I would just go around, either, you know, even if it was something mundane like, you know, your role is to patrol the northern borders of the Intergalactic Federation, and I'd be happy with that, as long as I could sit in a giant robot going pew 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 pew, and, you know, blasting around laser swords. That'd be amazing. But yeah, I've kind of upgraded. I used to love, you know, the BattleTech. Do you remember the big mechs in that?
I love
they were
BattleTech,
very cool, but I come to realise that they lacked speed, and I couldn't figure out why. Someone sort of sat me down and went, you know, you do know that a tank will outpace something that can walk around by like a mile and just shoot the crap out of it. And I was, that's boring. Okay, right. I want something that could fly. So yeah, changed my mind. I went for something, you know, more Japanesey kind of flying mechs that go pew. Yeah.
I tell you what's a criminally underrated video game. It's Front Mission Evolved. If you've never heard of it, it was produced by Square Enix. It's on the Xbox 360 and I assume the PS3, but I don't know. Maybe PC as well. I haven't really looked it up. But it's a customizable mech game. Where you kind of upgraded your mech and kind of gave it different armaments for the situation that you're in. Really kind of cool storyline, very Japanese, so kind of disjointed in the translation, but just a phenomenal game. If you can find a copy, they're fairly cheap. I picked mine up in a bargain bin for like £6 and was like, what the fuck is this? This looks awesome. And it's probably in like my top 10 like all time video games. It's awesome.
See,
I was always a big fan of Mech Warriors. Do you remember Mech Warriors?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, that was a really good game.
Oh, cool! I've just
there was a failed Kickstarter for a mech game that we had various cards, and then you got the figures. But when you got a card, there was like a corresponding bit of the figure, so you literally built your mech as you were going along. But I think he just asked for too much money.
I think you're right. I think I might have backed that one. There was one that came along that was. Do you remember Armored Core? That's sort of they tried to do an Armored Core game, and they had some weird snaffle with the license. And unfortunately, they either lost the license or the company they bought the license from, lost the license from the parent company. Or some bizarre shit went down, and they lost it. So they then had to redo it as Mech Command Evolved or something like that. It still looks really cool. They've got like LEDs in the base, so you can do your lines of sight and stuff like that.
Yeah, I saw that. Did that not get
it got funded by like a mile, but loads of people backed out towards the end when they realised the Armoured Core license was falling off it, which is really bizarre. If it's a great game and it's got mechs, and oh my god, I've seen some of the miniatures that came out and it looks amazing. So,
well, see, I don't understand. Obviously, it's like it happened with the Hero Quest Kickstarter, which failed, and then I backed on the Spanish version of Kickstarter, and I'm still waiting for it to turn up after like 2-3 years.
You're not bitter.
Yeah, I'm not bitter. I'm still getting updates about it, but they're still fucking sending me a bloody game. It's not 20. It's going to be 30th anniversary before I get it. It's meant to be 25th anniversary Hero Quest. But something like that, which is obviously quite successful, and a game that hasn't come out for a long time, I don't understand why they don't go, wow, yeah, fine, fuck it, I'll get a bit of money out of that.
Yeah. Crack on, just get it done.
So
but no, they just drag these things out and they take forever. So that's what I'd do. Mech Warrior Pilot.
Mech Warrior Pirate would be pretty good.
Hear me be Warhammer. Yeah. Cool.
You do know it's been about an hour now, chaps.
We haven't
even got past the news section.
Excellent. Excellent
so
stuff.
Shall we shuffle into some recommendations then, or is that the next step?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Right. Okay. So my recommendation is get back on Overwatch. This was supposed to be my news item because we've managed to blur our way through the whole thing. Basically, Overwatch has just released its version 2.0. They've got a new character called Sombra, who's this Mexican hacker she just runs around the map. She's got a really cool tool set that allows her to go invisible and teleport to weird places. They've tweaked a lot of the characters, so Symmetra now sort of heals people. Tjolborn gets scrap for free. And some of the other characters have been buffed a bit as well to make them a bit more powerful. And there's a new map, and the best thing is that they're using that new map to do their new modes, which is the arcade, where you can do 1v1, 3v1, 3v3s.
1v1 me, bro.
1v1 me, bro. Yeah, I tried to have a go at that, and oh man, it was really frustrating because the characters are randomly assigned. So you get two of us ended up as Reinhardt. So you've got these two massive dudes just sort of blasting across at each other using their jetpacks to get to each other as quickly as possible, swinging your hammer as hard as you can. And it was amazing. I won that one, but I lost the rest of the fight, so I wasn't too impressed. But it's just fantastic. It's rejuvenated the whole thing for me. The fact that you can't have these unless you deliberately go into the brawl that lets you do it. You can't have these weird teams where there'd be a defense team that's 5 Tjolborns with their turrets and a Mercy or something just to keep them healed up. It has to be one character of each, and it's just brilliant. So yeah, that's my recommendation. Get back on Overwatch. Come see me. I'm Neo Fiddlesticks is on the PS4. Come and have a go.
You mean you're not Bevan XCOM?
I tried. No, they wouldn't have. Bevan XCOM was gone. Zombev was gone.
Fuck off! Was it really?
Really? Yep. All gone.
Bevan XCOM. What?
Oh no, sorry. No, I didn't try that one. No, I didn't try Bevan XCOM.
Oh right. Okay.
No, I tried my Zombev one, and they was just like, you could be Zombev 73, and I hate doing that. I know a lot of people out there do it, and they just add a number to the end, but no, I just can't do it. I have to have an original one.
Yeah, could you imagine just adding a number on the end of a Twitter handle or something? How ridiculous would that be?
Yeah, I know. Fucking
this would
hell,
look really unprofessional. You'd just be a total wanker, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So you can follow us on Twitter on Geek Pride 1, Facebook on Geek Pride 1.
Dang it.
Yeah. But at least we've got the right URL. That's www.geekpride.com. Oh, hang on, no.
Geek.
No.
Pride?
They were all taken, and they weren't even the one. They were all fucking taken, and they're all for sites that aren't working, and people the Geek Pride name of Facebook is just some random dude, just some guy. It's just some guy. It's fuck you, man.
Did you see we got a bit of shop talk? But did you see we got a message? I responded on behalf of Geek Pride because I'm a good person. But someone sent this really impassioned message about, I'd really like to buy your page. I've got a business opportunity for you, and we could be giving you thousands of pounds for all the likes you have. Blah 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 blah. And I literally responded with, nope. And then they stopped talking to me.
Yeah, I saw.
Nice.
You're welcome.
Okay. Right. So, Mike, what's going to be your recommendation for this month?
My recommendation is Faith Volume 2. Not to be confused with the character from Buffy, but Faith is she's a superhero who doesn't kind of conform to the normal body image of what a superhero looks like. She's a what's the term? She's a BBW. She's a big, beautiful woman. And she's like a total nerd. If you don't know the story of Faith, she's like this total nerd who goes to conventions and fucking like has extensive knowledge. She's one of us. Do you know what I mean? Yep. But then she garners superhero powers, and she was part of a team, and then decided to break off and go for herself. And now she works for like essentially BuzzFeed. While she's being a superheroine, but it's totally cool, really meta and self-referencing, and kind of really body positive as well. Like she's like, yeah, I'm fat, and that's my life. Just really cool, really funny. I'd love to tell you who wrote it, but I've not got it in front of me to be able to tell you, so I apologise for my lack of comics knowledge. But go check out Faith. Volume 1 and Volume 2 are now out on trade paperback, so check them out.
Oh, excellent. Do you know what you've reminded me of? I don't know if you've seen the new adverts for this. I think it's called Mobile Strike. It used to have Arnold Schwarzenegger doing the adverts for it on the app. Yes.
You got Arnold.
Sorry?
He tells you to use the mobile strike. You got to do it. You got to get to your phone, and you got to press the buttons, and then you cause the explosions, and you do it now, and then it's going to be good, and they're paying you lots of money to shout. Like that guy.
That guy, yeah.
Oh, cool.
You did the job, but,
you did the job out.
Cover myself in mud so the predator cannot see me.
Come at me.
Anyway, from your comic reference, I was just intrigued because the latest advertising campaign for them has 3 plus size models. I guess you call them 3 gorgeous women.
I noticed that,
and I was just, people can be whatever shape, size, whatever they want to be. I was just intrigued as to why they went down that route for the those 3 models for that particular advert, whether there was some sort of agenda or anything, or they just thought, you know what, these 3 chicks are hot, let's get them in there. I was just intrigued.
I think probably it's like, if I'm being really cynical and marketing-y, because that's sort of my realm of day jobbery. Not that it's supposed to be, but I take far too much interest. You can't just add E
to the end of everything, dude.
I'm markety
jobbery.
My day job is selling advertising space,
okay.
But like, you have to kind of pay attention to marketing trends and things like that. Well, you don't have to. You could just be a robot, but I can't do that. Anyway, I would say from a marketing perspective, that gets you good views. That gets you the Tumblr vote, for want of a better expression. That gets you the millennial vote. So you've got your mobile game that's pretty much like every other mobile game. You know, it's gonna be a resource gathering thing with 2 types of currency, one of which you can buy with real money, one of which you have to grind to get in game. It's war based. Cool, war games. This is fine. So you run an advertising campaign. You've got Arnie first, so you've got kind of the men war, and then you switch that shit up because you want to be hitting a demographic that you don't normally hit. You get 3 body plus size models, and then BuzzFeed picks you up and goes, Total War or whatever it is. Has really upped their game with some plus size models. This is totally awesome. Well done for being good people. And then everyone's like, oh man, that's so cool. And then that spreads the word out to the demographic that you haven't been able to penetrate before, and then more people download and buy your game.
Oh.
That slightly annoys me in that you get sort of kind of, you can tell when a marketing company or a site is doing something, not because they feel impassioned about it or that it's important to them. They just know it's going to get them good ratings. Yep. And they know it's like, it fucking annoys me so much. Especially you can, certain writers do it where it's just like, hey, I'm totally gonna buy into the whole sort of kind of girl power sort of cosplay thing, and it's just like it's not because you actually care about it.
Yeah.
It's 1, because you think you're going to get laid, and 2, because
back to sex. Always
you
back
think
to
it's
sex with you, Matt.
Yeah,
every time.
But the thing is, you can tell it annoys me. It's just like, they are issues. They are things that need to be dealt with. But you can tell when somebody's just fabricating it because for their own ends. Basically.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, no, totally agree. There we go. Any whoozles. Matt, recommendation. Have you got one for this week?
Yeah, I've just finished watching a documentary on Sky Atlantic. Actually, two documentaries. One on Sky Atlantic and one on Amazon Prime or Prime TV. The Prime TV one was the new Louis Theroux thing. It was called Scientology the movie. And the one on Sky Atlantic was called Going Clear, which is basically another Scientology documentary. And they are insane. Absolutely buck crazy. It's like if you want to know about like Scientology, which is a pretty strange sort of kind of like cult sort of religion type thing, it's just insane. Absolutely. So like you watch it, they're both like a couple of hours long each, but so much about the people who have been in it and they've come out and they're talking about it, and how they're getting basically followed by people from Scientology. How Tom Cruise is this mad Scientologist, sort of kind of like Beacon, and the main guy who runs it and stuff, who beats people up and stuff like that. And it's just like it's just insane. The whole thing's just mad, and it's just like you have to watch it. You have to watch either of them. Out of the two, I'd say Going Clear, which is on Sky Atlantic. If you've got catch up, you can watch it there. But it's just it's insane, absolutely mad. You watch that and you're going, how the fuck is this? How have they not been investigated by the FBI more often, and how have they got away with all the tax dodging and stuff? It's insane.
I did see a documentary on Scientology where someone got out. Like, they were quite a big enforcer within the actual the religion itself, and they at some point they just went, no, I'm done, I'm out. And he and his wife left the religion, and they were just hounded by Scientologists who park up outside. They turn the sprinklers on. They just sit there going, nice weather we're having, and you just think, how that guy has not walked out there with a baseball bat and just beaten them to death, I don't know. Because they were like harassing his wife. They were sitting out there for hours on end. They were canvassing all his neighbours, looking in his windows.
But they were doing it. They were doing it to Louis Theroux. Like, they were sitting there. He was filming, and they were filming him. And he's like, "Who are you filming? Who you're doing?" And they were just. It was just sort of on. Like, the whole thing is, they're trying to legitimize themselves as a religion now. The Louis Theroux one doesn't really explain a lot about Scientology and where it comes from, whereas Going Clear, it's got interviews with your man Hubbard. I can't remember, something L
Ron Hubbard?
L. Ron Hubbard, that's it, Ron Hubbard, yeah. L. Ron Hubbard. They've got interviews with him, and how like he was basically he was a liar. He said he was in the Navy during World War II, and he made up shit like he blew up loads of submarines. But basically what he did is he blew up a log in the middle of the sea and wasted loads of ammo, and then he basically attacked a Mexican island by mistake and got discharged from the Navy.
Jesus.
And then he married this woman who didn't really want to marry him, but he said he'd kill himself if she didn't marry him.
Fucking hell.
And then basically, so she felt like she had to, and then he basically did shit. She was asleep one day apparently, and he was typing away doing his science fiction novels because he was trying to make money. And she was smiling in her sleep, and he went up with the butt of his gun and hit her in the back of the head. And basically, it was just like you were thinking about somebody else.
What
and
the
then
fuck?
he'd phone her up, and apparently at one point he kidnapped their child.
Jesus.
And then phoned her up and said, I've cut her up into small pieces. And,
You're kidding.
You're never going to say, yeah, man, this is the guy who's founded this apparent religion. And it's like, the whole thing is fucking insane. And it's like, he basically, from what it says in her like memoirs and stuff, is that they needed money, that he didn't have a job, and so he was basically trying to find a way to get around taxes and selling his books
So
and
you
things.
start a fucking religion because you're
So he started religion now. So basically his whole thing was, now he never got, it was only in 96 or something where they got tax exemption, but that was only because the IRS turned around and went, you owe us $1 billion, and they went, no, we're a church, we're going to be tax exempt. And basically what they did to get around the IRS, this new guy who came in when Hubbard died, I can't remember his name, they basically said, right, okay, well, we're going to sue you. And basically they got all of their fucking cult members to sue the IRS themselves, members of the IRS, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of litigation. And it got to the point where they just got overwhelmed and went, I can't deal with this anymore. What will it take to stop this? And they went, tax exemption. And can you also make sure that all of Hubbard's books are counted as religious texts as well? So any profits from that becomes tax exempt as well. And they have billions of dollars now in sort of property and things like that. And they use like John Travolta and what's his name?
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise is sort of as beacons.
Oh yeah, Tom Cruise is a massive Scientologist.
Yeah, and it's just the whole thing. It's like I said, the Louis Theroux one's good. It's a bit weird. I don't think there's a lot of structure to it because I think they both came out roughly at the same time, and I think they rushed the Louis Theroux one slightly. But the one Going Clear explains how where it came from, who he was as a person, and where it's got to. And it's just like it's insane. It talks to all the people who've come out of it, the other side, and what they used to do. And then it's basically the Scientologists kind of saying, this is bullshit, they're just trying to discredit us. And it's just like, well, there's so many of them now saying that you used to literally lock people in a room and make them lick the floor, and you used to sort of kind of make them beat each other up and things like that. And it's just like, it's mad.
It's just
it literally is
crazy.
mad.
Yeah. Okay, right. On that rather lovely note of religions beating each other up, I think we should sign off.
Well, wait, before you go, because the last podcast, which I'm about to upload today, we had the hashtag Make Matt Great, GRATE again.
Yes,
and you can win yourself some orange Fanta.
Yes, you can from the way
motherland.
from Northern Ireland.
Yes.
Wasn't I going to throw in like a nougat or something? I can't remember. I'll have to listen to it. I think I said I was going to throw something into the mix.
Yeah, as we're going to get. So there'll be stuff for you to win. Obviously, we're going to run it for maybe a month or something, and then the person, you just have to do that hashtag. So, yeah.
Basically, we make dreams come true on the Geek Pride podcast.
Totally.
Yeah.
Orange Fanta flavoured dreams.
Yes.
With nougat.
Sucrose flavoured nightmares.
Right.
Okay. So on that Fanta note, that's a better one to end on, I feel. That's
what a
nice.
Fantastic way to end the podcast.
You're the
You're
drummer.
fucking welcome.
Can we
Our
have
podcast fucking gold, me. Gold.
Can we have a badum-tsh?
Ka-doom.
Lovely, thank you. Anyway, thanks very much, guys. I've enjoyed hosting, even though I probably talked for all of about 30 seconds throughout the entire hour, which was...
I know, Matt just wouldn't shut the fuck up.
I know, it's terrible. God,
Unbelievable.
you'd think he was in charge or something.
All the tangents.
Yeah.
Couldn't...
Just off on one. Anyway, I've been Bevan Clatworthy.
I've been Matt Geary.
And I have been confused and slightly aroused.
Ooh. Well, we do try. Sorry, I was waiting for him to say his actual name.
Oh, they don't want to know my name.
Okay, cool.
It's fine.
That guy.
I'm a mystery man.
See you next week, guys.